Some mornings arrive quietly, not with ceremony or sudden change, but with small signs that something has begun to stir again. A swept walk, clean glass catching the light, a door opened after a long time closed. This is a story about what happens after grief has taken its first steps through a place, and what remains when the mourning has already passed. About work done slowly, love that waits, and the light that stays. This is The Light After the Mourning. The diner had been closed for nearly a year. No one noticed it every time he drove past, even when he told himself he wasn't paying attention. The sign stayed dark, the windows dulled with dust. Weeds edged the lot where tires hadn't worn the ground smooth in a while. Still, the building had a way of holding his eye longer than it ought to have. He thought once or twice about making an offer, not seriously, not with numbers written down or plans drawn out, just in passing. The way a thought came to you when you'd been alone on the road too long, and the night stretched ahead without interruption. The place was solid. He could see that even from the cab of his truck. Old, but honest. The bones were good. It sat angled toward the road like it always had, not flashy, not apologetic, just there. He remembered it from when he was a boy. One summer, his Boy Scout troop had stopped there on the way back from a campout. Too many boys crammed into booths meant for half that number. Mud on the floor, loud laughter bouncing off the walls, and a girl behind the counter. She hadn't been much older than he was then. Maybe not older at all. Her hair was pulled back, her sleeves rolled. She moved with easy confidence, coffee pot in one hand, pencil tucked behind her ear. She didn't rush, but she didn't waste time either. She took orders without writing them down and got them right. Noah remembered how the room seemed to settle when she walked through it. She didn't smile much, but when she did, it was quick and unself-conscious. She spoke to the scoutmaster like an equal, corrected one of the boys without raising her voice. Noah had watched her the whole time. She never once looked his way. At the time, he'd felt foolish about that. Later, he'd come to respect it, as the diner slipped past his window again. Dawn, thinning into that pale light that came after morning, had already done its work. Noah smiled faintly to himself. That girl would be long gone by now. Married, maybe, or moved on to something better. People didn't usually stay. He'd been driving all night, hauling a late load from the mill. The road had emptied hours ago, leaving only the hum of the engine and his own thoughts. That was when he saw the change. The front walk was swept, not hurried, not half done, swept clean to the edges. The windows caught the light instead of swallowing it. The door stood straight, glass wiped clear. Even the yard looked different, trimmed, tended, as if someone had stood there and decided it mattered again. An open sign hung in the window. Noah slowed without thinking. He told himself it was the coffee, or the donuts, if they had any left. He was tired in that deep, hollow way that came from too many hours awake and not enough reason to stop. He pulled in. The bell over the door chimed when he stepped inside. Soft, but certain. The diner smelled like coffee. Fresh, real. The warmth of it settled him almost at once. Behind the counter stood a woman wiping her hands on a towel. She looked up. For a moment, Noah couldn't quite place what tightened in his chest. She wasn't young the way she'd been in his memory. There were lines at the corners of her eyes now, and something quieter in her posture. But the steadiness was there. The same grounded presence. The sense that the room worked because she was in it. She met his eyes without flinching. "Morning," she said, "or whatever time it is." "Feels like both," he said, smiling before he meant to. She nodded. "Coffee?" "Yes, ma'am." She poured it without asking how he took it, set the cup down carefully. The saucer aligned just so. Noah watched her hands. Capable, careful, the kind that knew what broke easily and what didn't. "Donuts are fresh," she said. "Not fancy, but honest." "That'll do." He took a sip of coffee, then reached for a donut, tore off a piece, chewed. He stopped. "Well," he said carefully, "that's something." She glanced up. "Bad. Best I've had in a long time," he said. "Maybe ever." That earned him a longer look. Measuring, thoughtful. "They're just donuts," she said. "My mother's recipe." "Well," Noah said, "your mother knew what she was doing." Something crossed her face then. Too quick to name. She turned back to the coffee pot. "You just opened back up?" he asked. "This morning." "Good timing." She smiled briefly, polite, closed. "You passing through?" "More or less. I haul lumber, got land not far from here. That'll keep a man busy." "It does," he said. "You from around here?" She hesitated, just a breath. "I am." The silence that followed didn't trouble her. Noah noticed that. Not everyone sat easy with quiet. "I remember this place," he said finally. "From when I was a kid." Her hands stilled. "There was a girl working then," he added. "Young, but she ran the room like she'd been born to it." "She sounds capable," Margaret said. She was. Noah finished his donut. Then another, paid at the counter. "I'm Noah," he said. She paused. "Margaret." He left with the bell chiming softly behind him. The road felt longer afterward. It wasn't just the donuts. It was the way she'd stood behind the counter. The restraint, the steadiness, the sense that she carried more than she let on. She was striking in a way he had never seen before. By the time Noah reached the highway, he knew he would be back. Margaret stayed where she was until the bell stopped ringing. The diner settled around her again, the quiet returning in pieces. The coffee pot hissed softly. Sunlight stretched across the counter, pale and patient. She wiped the counter, though it was already clean. Keeping her hands busy helped keep her thoughts where they belonged. The open sign still hung in the window. She hadn't decided yet whether that felt like courage or foolishness. Her eyes moved, without thinking, to the booth near the wall. Jack always took the outside seat, back straight, watching the door like he felt responsible for it. Oscar liked the window. He pressed his hands to the glass and narrated the world beyond it in a low, earnest voice, pointing out trucks, birds, anything that moved. She made a note, automatically, to wipe fingerprints from the glass before they came in later. The boys were at school. Jack would walk home on his own, shoulders already squared like he was practicing being older. Oscar would come later, holding his teacher's hand, backpack slipping off one shoulder, no matter how many times she adjusted it. Margaret poured herself a cup of coffee and didn't sit down. Sitting made room for too much. Standing kept her steady. Her father would have liked this hour, the quiet after the first customer. He'd always said a place had a sound when it was right, not loud, just settled. She heard it now. The diner wasn't whole yet. One burner ran hot. The back door stuck when the weather changed. One of the booth legs needed tightening. She'd already warned Jack not to rock in it, but it was standing, open. She rinsed the cup and set it upside down on the towel, folded napkins, counted the drawer again, though she already knew what was there. Enough for supplies, enough for groceries, enough for now. Her father had been